In today's tutorial, I am going to start building out my pages, but before I do that, I have 3 of my papers here. I'm going to be fussy cutting some of these images because I'm going to build my pages around the images. Now, the reason that I am doing this is because some of these images are so large that I don't want to ruin those images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start fussy cutting some of these, and I'm going to figure out how to fussy cut around the flowers to save as many of these pieces as I possibly can. So I'm going to come back and I'll show you how I fussy cut this one. Now on this one here, I'm going to fussy cut these smaller ones out. And I think I'm going to focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, and I may do these 2. This one's a little bit larger than I want, so I'm probably not going to fussy cut this, and I may come back and fussy cut this one if I want, but I'm going to focus on 1, 2, 3, 4 to start. Now for this sheet, I'm going to cut all of my cards apart, and I'm going to focus on these 3 that are identical, and I'm going to bring this one and this one in too and see how those ones might work. Now, starting with these ones, I did go ahead and cut around 3 sides with my craft knife, and I just left each of these attached for now. That way I can either cut these off so that a photo can be in there, or I can leave it like this and I can adhere that down, and then when the photo goes in there, it'll just go in right over top of that piece. But I'm going to leave those in there as is for now. Those were the easier ones. Then I've got these 4 cards. So I'm going to start with these ones because they're all the same. So I have used my scissors to fussy cut around the flowers here. And again, I used my craft knife and I left this top piece here. That way, if I want to have this adhered down until I have a photo in there, I'll have that decorative paper and I can always cut this across later. So that's for these 3 pieces. And then for this one, I went ahead and I cut through this camera here, and I cut so that almost all of this flower is okay. I did cut the leaves off here, and I cut the flowers off here, and I cut the camera just to give me the largest room for a photo. But I did save this piece. That way, if I am going to have this on a page and until a photo is in there, I have that decorative paper behind it. I can adhere this down and leave the frame open. Now for the rest of my pieces, I'm going to bring in this paper here and I will show you how I have cut each of these. So starting with this top one here, I have this. So I have cut around these 2 flowers. I've cut off on the camera and I have a jagged edge here. So I basically just cut right around this. I left these and these flowers here for another one. Now I did cut this from here, and I'm going to be placing this on here, and then I'll put a flower piece here to cover that part that is jagged. Next, I have this piece from down here. So I have cut, so just these 3 white flowers are on it, and I've just cut right around from that blue flower. Then I did cut this like this, and I may end up cutting this out, but I haven't decided yet, so I've just left it attached for now. Then coming over here to this one, I have this one. I've cut across the top, and then I have the lens and the 1 flower, and then I've got the leaves here, and then I did cut across this, and then I left this part here at the top. And if I choose to add a photo to this one, I will also cut into this leaf so that just the top part is attached. Then coming here for the final one, I have this one. So I've just cut right across here. I already had this cut from the previous frame, so I just left this here. And I am going to turn this one sideways. I didn't cut this out yet. I actually just completely forgot to do it. And I have this piece that was up here. So I have cut this little strand of flowers, and I'm going to just place this right here over top. That way it hides that jagged edge. Now I also did cut this down here. So I have this fussy cut. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but I can add this to some of my frames when I place these on the pages. The first flap I'm going to cut for the front of page 1 measures 7 1/4 by 5 inches. I did score this here at 1/2 inch across the 5-inch side. I did go ahead and remove the center from this frame. I've cut this a little bit larger. I'm going to be cutting this off. So I'm going to be placing this down here on my flap, and I'm going to be centering this. Now I am going to leave the top part open, that way I can slide a white paper down in there, which is where the photo will go. I have these white flowers. I'm going to line up the edge here. I'm going to line it up with the bottom edge here. And then remember, I do have this piece that I'm going to finish this over here. And I may cut this so that it's not on top of my leaf. And then I'm going to cut this a little bit more so you don't see that. So when I adhere this down, I'm only going to be adhering the side here, the bottom portion, and then I'll adhere the flowers and the frame so the top piece will be open. I'm going to adhere it directly to this paper. Then I'm going to come in here with my scissors. I'm going to fussy cut around this side of it. I'll re-angle this piece up here, and then I'll come back and I'll fussy cut around this and re-angle the top. Now I have my whole entire top piece, and these parts that are over top are not adhered down, so that the photo, when I put it in here, will slide completely behind this. And then I'm going to be fussy cutting around here and angling this up. So this is what my piece is going to look like. Then I'm going to fold on this and use my bone folder to burnish that fold down. And this is going to be the front flap, so I'm going to center this on the top of my page. To finish this one off, I did put a piece of white cardstock here. I cut mine to 4 inches by 3 7/8 of an inch, so it slid right down in here. It's right at the top of where I cut this, and then it goes right to the top of my frame. Next, I'm going to open up and come inside here. I'm going to put first a piece that's 1 1/2 by 5 1/2. I've scored this at 1/2 inch on both ends to make a belly band. I'm going to adhere that belly band right into the center of the flap, and I'm going to measure the center on this part here. Next, I have a piece that measures 3 1/2 by 3 3/4. I've taken this piece here. I've decided just to cut this piece out of it. I'm going to adhere this onto my center of this piece. I have a piece for here. That's going to be my white mat for my photo, and this measures 3 inches by 2 1/4 inches. So I am going to have this, I'm going to round these corners first, then I'm going to have this open at the top so this photo mat can slide down here. And then I'm going to adhere this here on the center of my belly band. Now I have a piece that measures 7 1/2 by 2 1/2. I've scored this at 1/2 inch along the bottom on the 2 1/2 inch side. I'm going to fold on this score line here. And this is going to go across the bottom here to make a pocket. So I need to use my corner rounder on this bottom right corner only and place this here. Now for now, I am only going to be adhering this tab down, and once I have that background paper on, then I will adhere down my sides to form my pocket. From my die cut assortment, I've first chosen this piece I'm going to be placing here. Now I'm going to put a decorative paper under there later, but I did choose to put this here because it's not going to actually cover this and it's not going to cover this. I'm not going to be fussy cutting that paper. I'm just going to cut a square. So to kind of give some of this here some color, I'm going to be placing this piece there. So I'm going to lay this where he is. His shoulder is on the photo frame, and then his head, just the tip of it is actually on there too. So I have to be really careful with that. I'm going to apply my adhesive there and just a little tiny bit on the tip of his head. And then I'm going to position this right down on there, making sure that it's not adhered to that background. Next, I'm going to be placing this camera piece up here, and I'm going to actually be hiding my magnet under there. So I'm going to put my magnet on, and then I'm going to put my camera piece on to hide that magnet, and then I'm going to place a second magnet on this pocket. I'll first just place my magnet right in that corner, and then I'm going to apply some double-sided tape, and I'm going to use my wet adhesive on my camera piece just to make sure that this sticks down. Once that magnet is under there, I can place my second magnet on top. I will use a piece of adhesive or a double-sided tape for this. Once it's on there, I'm going to hold this and close that to properly place my magnet here on that pocket. Now the final thing that I did cut for this was a photo booklet. So this is 8.5 by 6.25, and I scored at 4.25 on the 8.5-inch side. And I'm just going to stick this in here. We'll create a booklet out of that later. And then I will come back here and add something under the belly band as well. I'm starting with this paper here. From the top, I have cut a piece 7.25 by 1 3/4. That was this piece here. I flipped it over this way. I used my corner rounder on the bottom right-hand corner. It's going to go here on the front of my pocket. Now I've also cut a piece from here. This measures 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. I believe, yep. So 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. I use my corner rounder on the top corners, and I'm going to tuck this under the belly band here, and this is going to be my background paper for up here. From this paper here, I'm cutting the top 7.25 by 2.5. I used my corner rounder on the top right corner only. I'll be placing this here on the top of the page. Then I'm going to apply my adhesive on the sides of the pocket and close this to close up my pocket. Now I'm going to make my photo mat for behind my belly band. I have a piece of cardstock here that's 4.5 by 4 1/4. I used my corner rounder on all 4 corners. I have a piece of white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 4 inches, and I'm going to be placing this here on the back side. But for the front, I have cut this piece here. Now this is left over from this paper here where we had cut out these photo looking pieces. I had this from the back side, and I've just gone and cut this down so that it measures 4 1/4 by 4 inches. And I'm going to be placing this here on the front side of my photo mat. And then I am going to place one of my ephemera pieces on the back side of this mat to give it some decoration after I have these pieces down. I've taken the camera piece and I've just applied the adhesive to the bottom corners and applied it at a slight angle so my photo can slide behind it. This is what the front looks like. And then this is just going to slide here right underneath this. Now I do have my photo booklet here. I'm just going to place this in my pocket for now. I'm going to come back and cover anything that's very large like this at the end after I have all of my pages done so that I know that I have enough paper, because I can always piece these if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. And because there is so much in here now, I'm going to slightly bend at this score line at the top just so that this will lay a little bit flatter. And I'm going to flip over to the back side of the page and start building this one up. The first piece for the back of the page is 3 3/4 by 5.5. Now on the 3 3/4 side, I scored at 1/2 inch on the right hand side. On the 5.5 inch side, I scored at 1/2 inch and 5 inches. Now I've cut out these corners. We're going to make this into a pocket. So I'm going to fold on all of these score lines. And then we're going to add this to the right side of the page here. Now the next piece is 4.5 by 4.5. I've scored at 1/2 inch on one of the 4.5 inch sides. I used my corner rounder on the corners on the right hand side, and I'm going to be placing this here, but I do need to round the corners here as well once I have my score line folded, and then I can place this here on the left side of the page. The last piece is 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. I used my corner rounder on all 4 corners. This is going to be a photo mat. I'm going to place this here in the pocket. It's going to hold this flap closed instead of using a magnet. Now for this here for the front, I have this card here. I did decide to go ahead and just cut this off. I'm going to be placing this here. Now it's going to have a little bit more across the top and the bottom because this is only 4 inches and this is 4.5, but I'm going to place this here. And then I have a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 piece of white paper. I'm going to be placing this here. I'm going to leave this whole top edge open so that photo can slide behind it. But I'm going to adhere all of this down so the photo can't slide any further. So I'll place my adhesive along the sides and then all of this bottom portion, leaving all of this open. For the cover here, I'm going to cut my piece 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. I have this piece here. It was from, again, that paper that we had cut the Polaroid looking photos out of. I've got this one. I just cut this piece off. So it's 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to use my corner rounder on the 2 right-hand corners and place this here. Oh, I need to put it on the all 4 corners actually. So I will round all of those corners and place this here on the front of this flap. Now for the back side, I have cut a piece to 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I rounded the 2 right-hand corners and I'll be placing this here on this right-hand side. Then I've taken this piece, it was the part that I'd cut off of here, the remaining little section that I had. Now I have trimmed this, so this is about 1/2 inch, and then I've just fussy cut around this leaf. I've rounded these 2 corners and I'm going to be placing this here on this edge just to give it a little bit of decorative paper. Now, if you prefer not to do this, you can make your piece 3 3/4 by 4 1/4 and just have a solid white piece here. Then I'm going to take one of my ephemera pieces, one of my cameras, and I'm going to place this down here, and I'm only going to adhere the left part down so that the photo can slide underneath. Now for here, I'm going to cut a piece 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I am taking from this paper here and I've cut this part. Now you can use it this direction or you can use it on this side. I'm going to be using it on the plain side here. I did round the 2 corners on the left-hand side. I've grabbed this piece from my die cut assortment and I'm going to adhere this down completely and place this here. Then I have from those cut apart pages, I have these and I'm going to be placing these 2 in here in this pocket. Now for the photo mat to keep everything closed, I did cut a piece of white cardstock to 4 by 6 right at my corners and adhered it to the back side. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the front yet, so I will save that for my finishing touches video. But before I do that, I'm going to add a little bit of decoration to the back side. I have this piece here. This was attached, I don't remember where it was attached, but this was attached to this part here. Now this flower was cut from whenever we were cutting all of our pieces out for our frames. I am going to just be adhering this down to this bottom corner here like this. So I'm only going to apply adhesive where it's touching this black part of the photo mat so that the photo can slide up underneath. Now you could also place it up here like this. Just depends on where you want to put yours, but I'm going to place mine here. And if you want to cut some of these leaves off so that it's not over the picture as much, you can do that as well. Once I have this on, it is actually upside down from what my numbers are. That's okay though. I'm going to make sure that this is in my left side when it's flipped over, and I'm going to place this here in that pocket to hold that page closed. So now page 1 is completely finished, and we're going to end this tutorial here. In the next tutorial, we will work on page 2. So I will see you in the next tutorial.